Canada prides itself on its values of compassion and equality, yet a hidden crisis festers beneath the surface, casting a shadow over these ideals. Homelessness, a complex and growing issue, is tearing at the fabric of our society. More and more Canadians are finding themselves without a place to call home. They are our neighbors, our friends, and our fellow citizens. They are mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters, and their stories deserve to be heard. The issue of homelessness is not new to Canada. However, in recent years the problem has escalated to a critical point. The rising cost of living, coupled with stagnant wages and inadequate social safety nets, has pushed vulnerable individuals and families to the brink. The COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated these challenges, leaving many Canadians struggling to recover. As the crisis deepens, it is becoming increasingly visible on our streets. Tent encampments, a stark reminder of the lack of affordable housing, have become commonplace in cities across the country. Behind these makeshift shelters are stories of hardship, despair, and resilience. It is time for Canadians to confront this crisis head-on and demand action from our leaders. We can no longer afford to ignore the plight of our most vulnerable citizens. The time for change is now. Homelessness does not discriminate. It affects people from all walks of life. Seniors struggle with rising rents, students choose between tuition and housing, working families can't make ends meet. These are real people with real stories. Sarah, a single mother, works full-time but can't afford rent. She and her children were evicted. They ended up in a homeless shelter. John, a veteran, struggles with PTSD. He lives on the streets, relying on strangers. We must support those who served our country. These stories show the human cost of this crisis. It's time to listen, understand, and find solutions. At the heart of Canada's homelessness crisis lies the issue of affordability. The cost of living, particularly housing, has skyrocketed in recent years, outpacing wage growth and leaving many Canadians struggling to keep up. In major cities across the country, finding affordable housing has become nearly impossible. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in cities like Toronto and Vancouver now exceeds the monthly income of many full-time workers. Minimum wage earners in particular are finding it virtually impossible to afford rent, let alone other essential expenses like food, transportation, and childcare. This affordability crisis is driving many Canadians into homelessness. With wages failing to keep pace with the rising cost of living, more and more people are finding themselves priced out of the housing market. The situation is particularly dire for low-income earners, seniors living on fixed incomes, and individuals with disabilities who rely on government assistance programs that have not kept up with inflation. The lack of affordable housing options is forcing many Canadians to make impossible choices. Should they pay their rent or put food on the table? Should they pay for their child's medication or keep the lights on? These are not choices anyone should have to make, yet they are becoming increasingly common in a country as wealthy as Canada. Evictions are a leading cause of homelessness in Canada, pushing vulnerable individuals and families into precarious living situations. While some evictions are the result of non-payment of rent, many are no-fault evictions, where tenants are forced to leave their homes through no fault of their own. One common type of no-fault eviction is a renoviction, where landlords evict tenants under the guise of renovations, only to increase the rent significantly once the renovations are complete. This practice disproportionately affects low-income tenants who often have little recourse when facing eviction. Another factor contributing to evictions is the lack of affordable housing options. With long wait lists for subsidized housing and a shortage of available units, many low-income tenants have no choice but to accept substandard housing in order to keep a roof over their heads. These units are often poorly maintained, overcrowded, and located in unsafe neighborhoods. The trauma of eviction can have long-lasting consequences for individuals and families. It can lead to job loss, financial instability, and mental health issues. Children in particular are vulnerable to the effects of eviction, which can disrupt their education, social connections, and sense of security. Section 5. Trapped in a cycle of poverty. Homelessness is both a symptom and a cause of poverty. Lack of affordable housing and secure employment creates a vicious cycle. Systemic barriers prevent improvement. Discrimination based on housing status is pervasive. Landlords fear renting to those who experienced homelessness. This perpetuates the cycle of homelessness. Many struggle with health challenges and disabilities. These make it hard to maintain employment and housing. Without support, they risk falling through the cracks. Inadequate social assistance exacerbates poverty. Welfare rates can't cover basic necessities or rent. Many rely on food banks to survive. Section 6. Health in jeopardy. Homelessness takes a devastating toll on physical and mental health. Living on the streets or in shelters exposes individuals to harsh weather conditions, unsanitary environments, and increased risk of violence and victimization. These factors contribute to a range of health problems, including respiratory illnesses, infections, and chronic diseases. Mental health is also severely impacted by homelessness. The stress, trauma, and social isolation associated with living without a home can exacerbate existing mental health conditions and lead to new ones, such as anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Substance use disorders are also more prevalent among individuals experiencing homelessness. Drugs and alcohol are often used as a way to cope with the trauma, pain, and despair associated with homelessness. However, substance use can further contribute to health problems, social isolation, and legal issues, making it even more challenging to escape homelessness. The lack of access to health care is a significant barrier for individuals experiencing homelessness. Many do not have health insurance or a regular doctor, making it difficult to receive preventative care or treatment for existing conditions. Even when health care is available, navigating the system can be daunting, especially for those struggling with mental health challenges or language barriers. Section 7. A failure of systems. Canada's homelessness crisis is not simply a matter of individual misfortune, it is a systemic failure, a reflection of inadequate social safety nets, insufficient affordable housing options, and a lack of political will to address the root causes of poverty and inequality. While some progress has been made in recent years, government responses to homelessness have often been fragmented, underfunded, and reactive rather than preventative. The focus has often been on managing homelessness rather than preventing it in the first place. One of the most glaring failures has been the lack of investment in affordable housing. For decades, successive governments have failed to build enough affordable housing units to meet the needs of low-income Canadians. This has resulted in lengthy wait lists for subsidized housing, forcing many individuals and families to choose between paying exorbitant rents or living in overcrowded or unsafe conditions. Moreover, social assistance programs have not kept pace with the rising cost of living, leaving many recipients unable to afford basic necessities. These programs are often complex, difficult to navigate, and come with stringent eligibility requirements that can trap individuals in poverty. Section 8. Breaking the cycle. Addressing Canada's homelessness crisis requires a multifaceted approach that tackles the root causes of poverty, inequality, and housing instability. This includes investing in affordable housing, strengthening social safety nets, and providing comprehensive support services for those experiencing homelessness. A significant increase in the supply of affordable housing is crucial. This means building new units, renovating existing housing stock, and implementing policies that prevent rent-evictions and other forms of displacement. Governments at all levels must prioritize affordable housing as a human right and commit to long-term, sustainable funding solutions. Strengthening social safety nets is equally important. This includes increasing welfare rates to reflect the actual cost of living, expanding access to affordable childcare, and providing job training and employment support programs that help individuals gain financial independence. Providing comprehensive support services is essential for helping individuals escape homelessness and rebuild their lives. This includes access to mental health and addiction treatment, healthcare, legal aid, and employment counseling. These services should be delivered in a trauma-informed and culturally sensitive manner that empowers individuals and promotes dignity and respect. Section 9. A call to action. Canada's homelessness crisis is a complex and multifaceted issue, but it is not insurmountable. By working together, we can create a future where everyone has a safe and affordable place to call home. This requires a collective effort from governments, communities, and individuals. We need our elected officials to prioritize affordable housing and social justice. We need communities to embrace compassionate solutions and challenge the stigma surrounding homelessness. And we need individuals to educate themselves, volunteer their time, and advocate for change. This is not just a policy issue, it is a moral imperative. Every Canadian deserves a safe and affordable place to live. It is time for us to stand up for our neighbors, our communities, and our values. Let us work together to create a Canada where everyone has a place to call home. Please, subscribe to our channel to stay informed about this critical issue. Share this video with your friends, family, and social networks to raise awareness, and support organizations working tirelessly to combat homelessness in your community. Together, we can make a difference.